Talking with the experts.
I think Google My Business account is absolutely a must-have for especially if you're a local business. And Google actually has a new ad system called local service ads, which is an absolutely amazing way for service businesses to get new leads, because instead of paying per click the way you do with traditional ads, you'll be paying per phone call. So, and right now, because it's so new, the cost per lead generally will be lower, at least for now. We'll see how it goes in the future. And it does tie in with your Google My Business. And if you have reviews, it will take those reviews and copy them over. So you're not starting with just one star. You already have your foundation that you've been working and building with Google My Business.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And if you're over at YouTube searching for something, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and press the bell to let you know that there's more episodes being uploaded. And today it's my very special pleasure to introduce you to Masha Mahdavi, sorry, beg your pardon, who is from SEM Dynamics. And today we're going to be talking about digital marketing and Google ads and how to calculate if they're going to be profitable and some of the common mistakes to avoid, because I know that I find Google ads really confusing. So we're going to be discussing about that. So Masha has over 10 years of experience in digital marketing, and she has worked with clients across various industries, including legal, medical, retail, and local businesses. Her focus is on working with clients in very competitive niches and generating return on investments through digital strategy, SEO, which is search engine optimization, paid search, and paid social media. She discovered her passion for marketing when she worked as a brand ambassador for companies such as Fox, Coca Cola, and T-Mobile. In 2011, Masha started working at Promoting Group, a digital marketing agency with over 120 clients. There she received recognition for successfully implementing campaigns and was promoted, my God, I can't even read this morning, was promoted from account executive to director of marketing to director of operations. Well done. That's a great achievement.
Thank you.
Welcome, Masha. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here.
Terrific. So perhaps we could talk a little bit about Google ads and why that people should be using them.
Yeah, Google Ads is one of those marketing strategies that generally, if implemented correctly, will generate you instant results. So in comparison to SEO takes time, and you're not going to be able to get as high volume for at least few months for most companies. But with Google Ads, you're going to get the website clicks and traffic right away. So when you are targeting correctly and you're not wasting budget on clicks that are irrelevant to your business, you're able to really scale very fast, because you're going to get the right traffic to the right pages. And hopefully, whether it's sales or if you're offering a service, you're going to get new clients.
So it's very important then, I guess, to make sure that your ads targeted to, say, speakers or, coaches or business people of a certain industry. You just don't send it out as a blanket ad.
Absolutely. So the thing with Google Ads, you are able to target specifically what people are searching in Google. So hypothetically, I'm a marketing agency. So let's say I'm looking for lawyers who are looking for Google Ads services. So people are going to type in Google Ads agency or Google Ads for lawyers or dentists. So I'm going to only show my ads to people who are typing exactly those specific terms. And then my ad is going to say, marketing agencies specializing in ads for lawyers or ads for dentists. And that's how I know that people who are actually looking for my services are the ones who are going to see my ad. And then if I'm setting up correctly, I'm going to take them further to a page that's specifically dedicated about how we can help them specifically reach their goals. So since we're talking about being agency, we're going to talk about how we can help them get new clients. And that's just an example. And we can really apply that methodology to almost any business.
Cool. So you can actually target a page on your website. It doesn't have to be the entire website.
So you specify the way you build it out is, let's say I'm going to create ads for a couple different segments. So I'm going to have a segment targeting specifically lawyers. So I'm going to send, when they click on my ad, they're going to go to a specific page that I'm going to send them. And that's called like a landing page. And that page is going to talk about specifically marketing for lawyers. If let's say I'm targeting another segment and my keywords talking about dentists, then I'm going to have my keywords looking for people who are looking for marketing for dentists. My ad is going to say marketing for dentists, and then they're going to go to a page that specifically talks about how we can help dentists with their marketing. So,
right. Sorry.
So like being very, very precise is really crucial. And that is one of those mistakes a lot of people make when they're new to Google as advertising. They'll send them to, let's say, their homepage. And that tends to be very broad. You can have multiple products, multiple services, targeting different people. So it will take a person who gets there longer to figure out, is this for me? Is this what I'm looking for? But if they go specifically page designed for them, that's when you're going to have a much better success rate, not only of them contacting you, but also them like knowing what you do and understanding what you're going to provide for them.
So does that mean that then the business owner has to design landing pages for each specific ad?
Ideally, yes. I think that is specifically what separates a very profitable campaign from not. If you're a small business and you're, let's say, doing coaching and you only have one product, then you don't need different pages because you only have one product. But if you do have multiple products or services, showing one page to everyone, it could work, but you're going to have much better results by being very specific.
So how do you find these keywords to place in your ads and to make sure that your landing page contains those keywords?
So there are tools that you can use online. Google actually has a free tool that you can use, and you can put in your website and it will tell you what keywords it thinks it's relevant for you. One of the easiest way to even start, for example, is think of who your clients are and think, what would they look for? And then type that word into Google. And then you're going to see Google make suggestions of other phrases that might be relevant. And I would start that way, just kind of this way. Google is like telling you, people who search for what you're searching for also search for all these other phrases, meaning these are things people are looking for. So you might want to think of how you can implement them on your page, on your website, if it's relevant to you. If it's not relevant, don't include them. Make sure to actually, you have the option to exclude specific terms. So for example, in my first example, we talk about marketing for lawyers. If someone types in marketing for lawyers to-do list or how to do it myself, that means they're not looking to hire an agency. They want to do it themselves. In that case, I would exclude that specific search. So when people are searching for those, they don't see my ad. So I don't waste my budget on clicks on people who are not really looking for what I'm offering.
Oh, makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. So I did have a question. I can't remember the tool. What's the tool called? Because I've done a Google search and they have quite a few of them. So what is the best Google tool to use?
So Google has, whenever you go into Google Ads account, they have a free keyword tool. Another tool that I think is really great that is often underutilized is Ad Preview tool, which will tell you can type in different phrases and you can even select different locations. And it will tell you if your ad is showing up and what position, what it looks like. So you can see which ads showing up for what keyword and then maybe make adjustments if necessary.
Oh, okay. I'll just write this down. So do a bit of research on that.
Yeah, and the tools are free. Once you create the Google Ads account, you'll have an access to their tools through there's going to be at the top menu, there's a tools section. And when you click down, it'll show their free tools. And you don't have to pay for anything. It's just part of their system.
Okay. So how much, I guess, is it to get a Google ad?
So that actually depends on each industry. So there are some industries where we were talking about the cost per click, which really means how much you're going to pay every time someone clicks on your ad. So that cost per click in some industry could be a couple cents, could be like 50 cents, 30 cents, could be a couple dollars. And then there's some industries such as personal injury lawyers where cost per click could be $200 to $600, depending on their location. So when you are debating whether this could be a good strategy for a specific business, I suggest go to the tools we talked about and take a look, type in some keywords that might be relevant, and Google will tell you specific based on your area how much the cost per click is going to be. It'll give you an average total, and even it will give you a separate column of what it's going to cost to be at the top of the first page. So you're gonna take that information and then you can calculate whether it's profitable to run ads. And in some situations, even with expensive cost per clicks, it completely makes sense. So the way you approach the strategy is it's a math equation, essentially. We're going to take our cost per click. So let's say within a specific budget. So hypothetically, we have $1,000 budget. We have $10 cost per click. So we can estimate how many clicks we're going to get from that budget. Then we're going to take a look at our historical business data is how many of those clicks are going to convert into leads or sales. And then if it's leads, then take a step further, generally speaking, out of people who contact you, how many do you actually close? And based on those numbers, you're going able to calculate if it's profitable or not at that specific cost per click for each area. And sometimes you look at your city and like, oh, this is too expensive. Even with my best rates, I'm not going to be profitable. So maybe you look at neighboring city, maybe the cost per click there's less, and now suddenly you're making profits.
Okay, so I guess before you even start, and you've said, do your research on the clicks and everything, do you, when you place your ad, do you obviously have to have a budget in mind? Can you stop the ad when you've reached the limit of your budget?
So you would generally let Google know that I have, let's say, $1,000 a month I want to spend on Google Ads, and it will automatically make sure you don't go over that budget. It will, some days you'll spend more, some days less, but it will average it out so you stay within your budget for the month. You do have option to turn it, like increase it, decrease it, or even pause your ads. If let's say there's a holiday or your office is going to be closed and you're not be able to answer the phones, you can turn it off for that day.
Oh, okay. I thought I wasn't aware that you could actually do that because, and there's, Pros and cons for using Google ads and Facebook ads. I mean, I don't know that so much that Facebook gets a lot of traffic. I know they have a lot of ads, but I'm not sure that people make any money out of them. I know I haven't. So I just stopped doing them. But yes, so you've explained the cost per click, and you've explained, setting your budget. So, and I didn't realize you could actually set a budget in Google. So if you say you've only got like $50 a week, just saying, I mean, I know that's not very much, but so you can actually set that limit per week, and it won't go over that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when thinking of the budget, I would think of it in a way that you take into consideration cost per click. So if you have a cost per click of, let's say, $10 and your budget's $50, that means you're only getting 5 clicks. That is very, very rough probability that out of those people, someone's going to make a sale. We like those numbers to be much larger. So depending on cost per click, your budget will need to increase. Otherwise, it might not be profitable. Even if long-term it makes sense, within like a month or so, you might not get any results. So you have to really kind of think in probabilities and look at your historical statistics from your business and be like, is this going to work for me right now with this industry in this location?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Just that, a lot of people don't have that extra cash flow, I guess, for, expensive campaigns. So that's, but it's good to know that information.
Yeah, and I think that's when some businesses are like, oh, I've seen people do Google ads, let me give it a shot. But if the budget is too small, they waste their money and they think it doesn't work. And the reality is not that it doesn't work, it's either it wasn't implemented correctly or their budget just wasn't big enough. So you really have to look at it as a whole, like math equation, and do the crunch numbers before you turn on your ad campaign to make sure it makes sense. And sometimes in some industries, the cost per clicks are so expensive, then you might need to go into other platforms where they're not as expensive. So for example, Bing historically going to be a much cheaper cost per click than Google, also a lot less volume. So that might be your plan B.
Okay. So is it advisable to have Google Maps on your website, or have a Google My Business account?
I think Google My Business account is absolutely a must-have, especially if you're a local business. And Google actually has a new ad system called local service ads, which is an absolutely amazing way for service businesses to get new leads, because instead of paying per click the way you do with traditional ads, you'll be paying per phone call. So, and right now, because it's so new, the cost per lead generally will be lower, at least for now. We'll see how it goes in the future. And it does tie in with your Google My Business. And if you have reviews, it will take those reviews and copy them over. So you're not starting with just 1 star. You already have your foundation that you've been working and building with Google My Business.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Google's on top of it, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I guess, what about the Google Maps? Is it advisable to have, a link to Google Maps on your website? Have that integrated?
Yeah, I think it's great to have, especially if you have multiple locations or your clients are looking for you. I think Google Maps gives you an option to look for directions. So it makes it much easier to do that. And then generally, I think once you tie all of your different services together and they provide as much useful information, is best for both user and the Google. Yeah.
Yes. I guess for people who work from home, it may not be as ideal as someone who has a shop front, but yeah, it's a good option to have there.
Absolutely. And Google does have an option where you're able to do like a service location instead of showing a specific address. So that is something that if you are not comfortable, if you're working from home, you can look into that as being an option for setting up your Google My Business listing.
I didn't know that either. So there you go. lots of things I didn't know about Google. There you go.
They're always changing things. I think that's the thing with Google. They're always adjusting. They're always innovating. So you have there's things that they have and then they take it away, and there are things that they keep adding without even telling people.
No, yeah, maybe that's the issue, because I don't use I have a Google My Business account and I have a website on there, but I hardly ever go there. And I probably should spend more time getting there. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that people don't think of. Most people are usually on, Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and they're doing all their marketing through those three platforms. And I don't really think they give Google a thought. It's sort of an afterthought, really.
Yeah, I definitely see that with specific industries that are not as competitive. I think taking advantage of Google while your competitors are not would be great. And also, speaking of Google My Business, if you're a service and you are trying to show up locally, having Google My Business listings is really great opportunity, because with websites, you might not show up because you have so many competitors with backlinks. But with Google My Business, if you have it optimized, you have a higher chance of showing up locally to people around you.
All right.
So it's almost like another opportunity to show up if your website just doesn't rank enough yet.
So how do you optimize a Google My Business account?
So there's several things that Google's really looking for. Number one, make sure you have the correct category for your business. That is one of those things that often people overlook. And if they don't have that category, it's almost hard to show for something that you're not telling Google that's what you do. Another thing is reviews. Reviews are a big factor. So having more reviews and having positive reviews are great. A cheat sheet is ask people not to give you a review, but ask them for feedback, so they can include more of a description of what you do and your services, so that when people are seeing your Google My Business, it will highlight if the same words that typed into Google are within the reviews, and it kind of makes you stand out a little bit more.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and there's a couple more, and one of the other ones is having your business name, address, phone number match across your website, Google My Business. If you have a Yelp or other platforms, having a match across is important. And one thing that we have no control over really is where the people are located when they're searching. So the closer they are to your business, the more probability is that they're going to be able to see your Google My Business listing.
Oh, okay. Something to keep in mind. Okay, Iris, there's so many questions. So I guess for someone who wants to do it themselves and don't want to use a digital marketing agency because they, obviously can't afford to, what is the best way for people to start with Google Ads and Google My Business?
So when it comes to Google My Business, just setting it up and creating a listing is the first step. And there's a lot of articles online that will help and guide you through it. When it comes to Google Ads, it's a little bit more complicated because there's going to be more steps to set it up. You're going to need to do keyword research, decide what you're going to target. Then you're going to write your ads. Make sure that you have website pages, ideally customizable for each thing you're advertising for. But most importantly is this is an improvement from before. Before, everything was manual. So you had to tell Google how much you want to pay for what click, and if you want to pay more or less for specific locations or devices or time of day. I mean, there's like a lot of different layers that you had to keep an eye out. But now Google's really been optimizing with machine learning to try to make it so that there's less decision making on our part, and there's a lot more decision making based on the Google's algorithm. So the way they have different settings depending on your goals. So if your goal is just branding, you can just make sure you show up at top of the page. If you're trying to get leads, or there's different settings. So one of my favorite for especially for new campaigns is called maximize clicks and maximize conversions. So maximize clicks would be the first one to start with, just so you can get as many clicks within your ad budget. And keep in mind, Google is not going to go over. It really balances out at the end of the month. And once you set it up, Google will itself look at where your clicks are coming from, what time of the day, and it will make all those adjustments for you. So all you have to do is just make sure that your ads are written well, make sure they're showing up for the right keywords. And then over time, you're going to see your campaign improve on its own.
Wow. Okay. No, I think I'll be going to a digital marketing agency.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're here, because it does get like complicated, even though they've been really making it easier and easier for small businesses to do it themselves.
No, I think maybe that's the goal, is not to do digital marketing out of marketers out of business. I think it's just for those of us who don't have a big marketing budget, who can't afford to hire an agency, can do it themselves, and they can understand it. Because I always have, I've heard from a lot of people that Google ads is just so hard to set up. So I'm glad that Google has seen the light and is making it easier for people like myself.
Absolutely. And Google actually took a step further. There are some campaigns that you can just tell Google, this is the page I want to run ads for. And it will tell you like what keywords to run ads for. It'll write you ads for you. You don't have to do anything. It's called dynamic campaign, and Google will do all the work for you. You just have to take a look, make sure it makes sense. But that's it. You just turn it on, make sure you set up dynamic ad campaign, and you're good to go.
Wow, that sounds more like my cup of tea. Hey, Masha, can I ask where people can find you?
Absolutely. So our website is SCM Dynamics, and we specialize in digital marketing for law firms. I also have a podcast called Marketing with Masha, and you can find that on most of the major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think almost everywhere I can post it. And that's where I just talk about different marketing tips for businesses and law firms. And that comes from social media, Google Ads, just general business advice. And if always, like, we have Instagram also at SM Dynamics, you can reach out to us, and any questions, we love to talk marketing and strategy, and we'll be happy to answer.
Oh, well done. Excellent business. Any last words of advice you'd like to give someone?
Yeah, I think Google Ads is not scary. It's good for instant results, but you have to plan it out. So if you're not sure to start, talk to marketing agencies, consultants, make sure you plan it out. And if it's done right, I guarantee it's going to be, if it's done properly, you'll get results.
Perfectly perfect. All right, Masha, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to learn about Google and cost per click and all those sorts of things, because it was right over my head and you explained it perfectly. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.